be a gust of wind that would come up, and it would go up and hit everything. And so, like, every time the door would open, I'd be like, and so someone asked, like, what does it feel like? And I was like, oh, does it feel like a nice breeze going up the head of that? And I was like, no, it's basically like someone took an ice cube and, like, shoved it up my booty butt. And so, single dad.
That's where I step in.
Yeah.
Because she's sitting there, and mind you, it's a popular dinner restaurant on a Sunday night after a con, and so people are coming and going. And I'm like, you know what? America the fuck on. So I'm thinking about those red, white, and blue old bomb pops. I was like, showed her pictures, like, wow, feel like that? America.
Yeah, he goes, well, if it's going to be, like, super cold and icy, you may as well make it like those red, white, blue popsicle sticks and make it all American.
Oh,
And
God.
then I was laughing so hard.
Hey, literally, the people at our table who had just met us that weekend, they were worried. They got concerned, like, because she could not speak, she could breathe, she was laughing so hard.
And she is right now.
What the hell is going on? This for almost
so funny.
God damn.
Welcome, listeners. Today's episode, we've got a couple of topics we're going to touch base on. First and foremost, the main topic, which will be about Ben Affleck leaving Batman and what it means for the future of the DCEU. And then after that, a couple of our cast members have been to cons, and they'll share some, insight onto these cons. So without further ado, let's just break the mold and talk about it. Ben Affleck is no longer Batman. I feel dead inside. I'm sad. I don't know how a lot of people feel about Ben Affleck, but I felt like he was the perfect Batman, and now he's gone. And as far as I'm concerned, he wanted to not only write the script, but he wanted to direct and produce the standalone Batman movie. And this is coming from the fact that Wonder Woman and Aquaman both made a lot of money and were fantastic films. So, thinking an Oscar award-winning producer, writer, and director and actor doing the Batman movie, I mean, that's fucking awesome. But no. So, I assume Ben Affleck took one look at that script that they wrote up and said, fuck y'all, I'm out. That's essentially what I'm thinking. I know that our resident Batman lover, Jake, what are your thoughts about what has transpired?
Well, I would say Ben Affleck was probably my second favorite Batman that we've had. And I know I don't really read a lot into that tabloid BS, but he was going through a lot of personal issues. So I'm assuming that probably was a factor in why he chose to step away from the franchise, because it is a huge commitment. The way that these cinematic universes are playing out. I mean, shit. Chris Evans is already burnt out, and so is RDJ from the fact that they've been superheroes for the last 10 years or so. I think it kind of sucks that he's having to leave, and now, like, because recasting is never easy. So I actually more feel bad for whoever's going to end up replacing him, because that's a whole lot of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
True. True.
Especially since, let's be honest, fanboys are freaking toxic.
Ah!
Especially Batman and Superman fans. Like, my
I mean,
understanding, like,
And Star Wars fans.
and Star Wars fans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Star Wars fans are the worst.
Yeah.
Apparently, you can't have a
I think
female
so.
lead in the Star Wars universe without people losing their goddamn minds.
Yeah.
But as I mean, I think the reason why Batman v Superman was so universally hated is not because it was a bad movie. I thought it was a freaking fantastic movie,
agreed.
but because it wasn't written in a way that met the expectations of what people think of Batman and Superman, people got butthurt. They expect, Superman to be this joyful, always smiling dude.
Are you paying attention to the game?
And they wrote him in a way that, he wasn't confident. He didn't have all the answers. And it was an origin story that seems realistic when you take in a mindset, and people didn't like that. I freaking loved it. They have the dark and gritty Batman, very Frank Miller-esque, and I thought that was phenomenal. I mean, if it wasn't for the Martha line, I think and really it was actually, I actually did like that scene. I just don't think a lot of people got it. Like, it wasn't the fact that, oh, cool, both of our moms are named Martha, let's be best buddies now. Like, that wasn't it. It was just the fact that he remembered when he said, you have to save Martha, he remembered that, the whole reason why he became Batman is because somebody killed his mom and dad. And now he's about to kill Superman. And he's going, what the fuck am I doing?
Right. I also firmly believe that the reason why that happened was a trigger to remember that Superman has a family. And it's a shell shock when both of your mothers are named Martha, which, by the way, I think was interesting because as much of a comic book reader as I am, it took me a second after watching that movie to go, wait, what? And then I looked it up, I'm like, holy shit. Both of their mothers are named Martha. I have been reading comics and looking into all these movies for so long, how did I not fucking notice this? What?
It was a nice deep cut, for sure.
Yep.
Well, you got to figure at that point in time, Martha was a very common name.
Yeah.
When these comics were written.
Yeah, and to touch base on what you said about how Superman's not supposed to be dark and gritty, it's hypocritical, it's stupid, and it's hilarious because anybody who watched Batman the Animated Series and anybody who watched Superman the Animated Series, which both, by the way, were amazing television shows, when they did their crossover, the crossover was dark and gritty too because Batman's world was bleeding into Superman's. So
and they were not exactly best friends at start.
No, Batman threw Superman over his shoulder up against the freaking door. So I'm just saying. Let's turn to Single Dad now. Single Dad, what is your opinion on all this?
Honestly, whoever replaces him is going to have some shoes to fill. But my feeling on it is the same thing, the same argument that we have been having about who the best Joker is people are going to have this argument about who the best Batman is. But there is no comparison because each of the different actors bring something different to the role. They portray it a little bit more their style, how they read the character. So, and we're just going to have to wait and see who they select. Now, I know that there was the rumor that Armie Hammer was going to be selected, but then that was quickly kind of disproven by the studio. That was kind of that would have been a great idea. I think he would have made a great Bruce Wayne. But at the same time, limiting our characters and our again, going back to that toxic fanboy mentality, limiting our scope of actors and everything like that to what amounts to be white middle-aged males is, I don't think, the way to go. Just kind of case in point on the thought of Idris Elba being the next James Bond. Excites the crap out of me.
Because he's a fantastic actor, and he's
a phenomenal actor.
He's as smooth as James Bond in real life, so why the hell not?
Yeah, he's definitely rubbed a lot of people there.
So, I mean, and I know that there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to hate me for saying this, but you got to start thinking about the talent, of the actor and what they can bring to the role instead of just your stereotypical what you want to see in the role.
Agreed.
So,
Maya, you are up next.
So, kind of to tag along to what he was saying, it is nice seeing that kind of branch out, and with the opening of a new Batman, being able to kind of branch out into either actors of color or actors from different areas. I mean, when, like, for example, when Michael Jai White did Spawn in '97, and everybody threw a huge fit because he was a person of color doing a superhero movie, and that wasn't a thing then. And then you've got same thing with Rey in Star Wars, and everyone was freaking out because it was a woman taking on that role. So it is nice seeing how it's progressing. As far as actors go, I do agree they do have some new shoes to fill. However, it does give this opening for the next generation of actors, because there are a lot of really fantastic action stars right now that we don't really focus on too much because they're not in the DC movies, they're not in the Marvel movies, but they're making a huge splash in other movies. Like actors like Louis Tan, who's been doing Into the Borderlands, people like Scott Adkins, who's been doing he's in a Triple Threat that's coming out this year. Like, there's a lot of really good actors, and if we pull from that next generation, we might be able to weave in the next generation of action stars. So that makes me excited, at least.
I absolutely love that you said Scott Adkins, because I went on YouTube and was doing some stuff, and then I fell upon his audition tape or whatever on YouTube. The acting was okay, but for the most part, it was the fact that he looked the part, his physique matches, and then I look up his martial arts and I go, oh, he could do his own stunts. So I was like, I want Scott Adkins. Now, Jeremy, your take.
I think the biggest issue I see with all of it is, how are they going to progress from one actor to the next? Are they going to just try to pretend like it's the same person? Or are we going to try a new generation altogether? I mean, he kind of had a whole lot of this, I'm getting tired of what I'm doing anyways attitude in in the last movie. So, I mean, they could be passing it off and it could be like something great. Or are they just going to be like, just kidding, don't look at us. It's somebody new, but we're going to pretend it's the same person.
Right, which so many movies and trilogies and series do that constantly. They get a new actor and then they'll try and just push through it and pretend like nothing happened.
Okay, I'm going to say this, Jeremy, because I know you're a Potterhead like me, Dumbledore.
Yeah, it was just like, wait.
Well,
the Oracle in the
I see why, but
oh yeah,
time, like,
didn't the original actor pass away though? So it's not like
so it's not like they really had a choice in the matter. I mean, I guess they don't really have a choice in the matter right now, but it's like, how did they not see it coming? Like the DC universe, anyways, be like, hey, let's throw a contract on somebody.
Yeah, see, and that brings up a point that I've seen. Henry Cavill seems to really be hell bent on being Superman, because there are a lot of people who actually like him as Superman. So he loves being Superman. He wants to continue doing it. I see him in a lot of interviews being like the forefront to try and keep people uplifted and upspirited about this whole thing.
Very Superman.
Yeah. And then, of course, Gal Gadot is just like, I'm a part of this role. Let's see what happens. And then she's very humble about the whole thing. And then her movie, breaks box office records, and she's all like, "Yeah, I'll keep doing this." And then freaking right. And then I see Jason Momoa. Now, when it comes down to casting, at first I was like, Jason Momoa. Okay, I know why they're picking Jason Momoa. He's eye candy. And then the benefit ended up being, when you see him in the movies, oh, hey, by the way, he can act. Holy shit.
We knew he could act. He's been in a litany of movies.
I haven't seen all of
No, more TV series than movies, but still,
yeah.
But that is along the same lines, though, as kind of going in a different direction, because he doesn't fit your stereotypical vision of Aquaman, but he filled that role really well.
Yeah, and he did a great job for it being like.
And he acted the role of Aquaman, not here's Jason Momoa in an Aquaman suit. No, he was performing as Arthur Curry. Like, if you watch animated shows or animated movies with Aquaman in it, that was Aquaman, in my opinion. There are certain parts where they added to the personality with more of a cheerful tone, and that's fine with the jokes and whatnot. But when it came down to, like, protecting people, protecting the ocean, and the desire to fight evil, I saw Arthur Curry. I thought he did a fantastic job. I just think that the hilarity element was to fill in those gaps, so to speak, in the time. And that's another thing to bring up in terms of all this, considering Batman, who's going to have a standalone movie. A friend of mine brought this up. So a lot of people, when they watched Dawn of Justice or they watched Justice League, a lot of the fans were kind of frustrated with it, because at first they were like, oh, it's too dark, it's not happy and joyful. And as my friend said, you have to understand that DC Comics is not the same as Marvel. There's a different tone to the whole
Big
plotline.
facts.
Like, so you can't just sit here and make a DC movie like a Marvel movie, because it's not going to come off the same. And my friend actually suggested that if you really were to surpass Marvel movies with these DC movies, don't make every movie in such a dark tone, if that's possible. Instead, make each and one of these characters' movies a genre piece. Make Batman a horror movie. He's the Dark Knight. He fights in the shadows. He's very aggressive. He uses fear tactics. Make it a freaking horror movie. Superman, make it the light-hearted movie that it is. Aquaman, I would argue with Aquaman, make it almost a political piece, because a lot of his stories have to deal with crap that's going on in the ocean, which I absolutely loved when the Atlantis decided to throw all of the trash and all of the military equipment back onto their beaches, because they were all like, we're tired of your shit. Like, I freaking love that. There are moments when Aquaman has to, support Atlantis, go on land and go, y'all are fucking up. You need to fucking knock it off, or I'm going to crack some skulls. Because technically, I rule 3/4 of the fucking planet, so fuck y'all. Like,
Everybody keep looking at the Navy guy. But
Well, actually, did you guys get to see Legion?
I
No.
It was kind of along the same lines that you were talking about with Batman, where it was more along like a psych thriller route. And it was a really interesting take, and I very much appreciated that. So yeah, I would probably stand behind if they made Batman more thriller based.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
would say that.
Well,
And
I actually like the direction that the way it's supposedly going right now is on the more detective noir route. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, what is one of Batman's monikers? The world's greatest detective.
Detective.
yeah.
And that's And that is one of the things that we have not actually seen in a Batman movie. Of all the freaking Batman movies we've had is a detective film. And
Oh, the OG one.
Well, okay, so
Rest
we,
in peace, Everest.
Wow.
we only scratched the surface with some of them, especially on when Christian Bale was Batman. He did certain things, but of course I'm sitting here thinking to myself, what? Like, I could get the fingerprint if I freaking do this with renderings and stuff. Here's the fingerprint. I'm like, the
So
fuck?
let's be honest, that was just a technology porn.
Yeah, that was technology porn. Jake is right. We like Batman should not just be horror, but there should be that detective element involved as well, and a lot of these do have them. So, I will say right now, I do not like their Lex Luthor. I just can't.
I think that's a safe consensus between everybody in the community. And I haven't heard anyone really say anything positive about Lex Luthor. Feel free to.
I'm raising my hand. That I'm that one guy, that one outlier. I'm him. I loved it because the Lex Luthor of the last 3 movies that we've seen with him in it, he's basically just a glorified real estate salesman. And we actually get to see the more genius side, but it's not the same kind of genius that we saw in the cartoons. He's, you know, they're going for something. They were going for something different. Which, look, how many superhero movies have we seen with Batman, Superman, and all that stuff? We've seen a lot of them, and I really don't want to keep seeing the same movie over and over again. And so to kind of bring it into a new generation twist with the way that they did Lex Luthor, I mean, yeah, he's very off-putting. But let's be honest, most millennials are. And
To touch base on
I just like the fact that we got to see something different, but he was still that, you know, genius where he was playing that chessboard, but he's still 5-6 moves ahead of you, and I thought that was kind of cool.
Actually, I was going to add on to that because you're not alone. Jake and I have a buddy in common. He put it best when he saw it. He said that today's Lex Luthor is like a billionaire of today's world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at Mark Zuckerberg or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, very eccentric, very energetic, and all that, because that's a lot of billionaires today is like that, especially when they go crack and they go evil. Now, of course, I loved Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor the most. It's unfortunate what has happened and transpired in his life. But
yes,
I'm just, we've, like Jake said, we've seen so many of the same villain. It's time for a little bit of a change, but I also want to add to that, why can't we see different villains? Where we're at technologically with CGI and our special effects and everything, it's so not impossible to get some of these villains that, whether in the comic books or in the animated shows and animated movies, to just do those. Like, I see the path that they're taking right now, which is to kind of touch base on what Marvel did with Thanos, which they brought Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf was one of the minions of Darkseid. I have such a hard-on for the idea of a giant Justice League movie against Darkseid, because that movie alone is going to make the Infinity War and Endgame look like child's play. Darkseid is so overpowered. So I would like to see not just villains, but rehashed, but more villains, which, spoiler alert, in case I guess you didn't watch Justice League, if you're a crazy person, we got a little snippet of Deathstroke. We got
Senior.
We got a little touch base on him, and I'd love to see him in a movie soon. But yeah, I mean, I honestly, I actually really enjoyed Justice League, but and Dawn of Justice, and the reason why I enjoyed those actually is for Batman. I enjoyed Dawn of Justice for Batman because Ben Affleck did an amazing job at that role, and we got to see kind of a OG comic book look with the Batman suit and just the way he was going about things. I really thoroughly enjoyed his performance out of that entire thing. I think the biggest gripe and complaint with Dawn of Justice that I heard was that it quote unquote didn't make sense. Like it would jump too much. And I'm like, I mean, it's not like they could do a fade between scenes or something. You just have to try and follow it.
The problem is they didn't do a lot of it was like the first movie, so they didn't do a whole lot of backplay for people. And so then they were like throwing this movie together and they had to do backstories real quick. And I think that was the problem. It wasn't necessarily that it would have been a bad movie. It would have been better if they would have done some of the backstories in other movies first.
And
then it wouldn't have felt so jumbled. But at the same time, you're sick of these, these origin stories because they're all the same.
Well, especially because we've had origin stories.
We have to see Thomas and Martha get killed.
Seriously.
Exactly.
And how many times do we have to watch
there's
Superman land in the ground?
aspects that you miss when you throw a big movie together right away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree that both Justice League came too early. We definitely needed to see Aquaman first. We definitely needed to see Cyborg and the Flash first.
I love the Flash. Let me just tell you, the Flash was probably my new favorite character from any of these movies, and I want his movie now. He is absolutely by far I don't know who the actor is. Sorry, I'm really bad with actors.
Ezra Miller.
But
I'm almost like
how he played him is probably by far my favorite Flash ever.
Oh yeah.
And he has this like autistic thing going without being, but you could see that his brain is moving so fast that even his body is not keeping up with the way his brain is moving.
So I actually saw more or less that he's doing things so far on his own that he doesn't go out and actually interact with people, and that's why we got to see him perform the way he did with Bruce Wayne, because you say,
well, like, I don't think it's that. People don't understand him because he thinks of things and he is on to the next page. Like he's in the next book before you're even in the first chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because his brain is just so full and going so fast all the time that nobody can keep up with that. And it was so impressive to me how he would just move and jump and he would be somewhere and the next thing that would happen. And then the only moment to like slow him down was when Superman looked at him.
That was amazing.
Oh my gosh, that
That
was one of my
scene.
favorite scenes.
Oh my god.
when Superman's eyes just kind of dart back and then he just turns.
It was like
Yeah.
the first moment that somebody could keep up with him.
Yeah.
And his brain just stopped. You could see it across his entire face, all of his motions. Like,
That was my
I
favorite
wanted
part of his
more
performance.
Flash. I need
Yes.
more Flash.
That was my favorite part of his performance out of the entire movie, was just them all of a sudden going slow-mo and his look of just, what the shit? Like, oh man. So
I mean, you get a little bit of cockiness when you're a superhero because everybody you're around is weaker than you, slower than you, whatever. And it was the first time that he actually had somebody put him in his place without putting him in his place. But
yeah.
But they also brought a human aspect to his character as well. In the big fight with Steppenwolf underneath the reservoir, when he's going around saving people, and he's helping Wonder Woman push her sword back and everything like that. Then what does he do? He literally trips on a crack in the pavement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
he's still a kid. He's still not.
You don't see that the superhero. You don't see them like, oh crap, I do this all the time. Like I hit my head on like a counter, or like a door to the cabinet or something like that. You're like, ah, crap. That's the kind of thing that we're seeing. So they're making these characters, which I'll go ahead and say this. I personally prefer Marvel movies over DC, but I love DC comics over Marvel comics. That is just how I do things. Now, do I like all Marvel movies? No, not gonna. No, sorry. Some of them just didn't do it for me. Thor 2, no. I'm just gonna walk away from that one. It didn't happen. But I am enjoying the DC movies immensely. And we talked about the grittiness earlier. I love that. I love the dark feel. I love the fact that, I mean, it is more like the comics. So, I mean, yeah.
I will say this. For me, as far as DC is concerned, my heart will always be with the animated movies. Even the movies that they're pumping out now, like, it's just bar none.
Yes.
And so I feel like when people are like, oh, Marvel's better than DC and all that stuff, like, people forget that there's a whole animated side. And I couldn't even tell you what is going on with any Marvel animated stuff because I never watch it because I've never cared. But you tell me about, like, the latest DC animated movie and I'm there. So to see that type of stuff kind of like bleeding in, that the stuff that, and the grittiness that you see from the animated series, the animated movies, and seeing that go into DC, it's really exciting to me.
Yeah, no, it's funny you say that because a lot of people that I know that are capable of reading both, or at least have the respect to say, I just like comic books. Why do I have to sit here and pick and choose between the two and have this stupid rivalry? It doesn't make any sense. A lot of people
Your favorite branch of the military.
Yeah, right. Let us know when you get there, okay?
I'll be your bullet sponge.
I think it depends on where you start.
Speaking of
honestly,
bullet sponge,
I believe it's where you start. What did you start with? What was your first comic book?
My first comic book? Oh God.
G.I. Joe.
Okay, what was your first Marvel DC?
Oh God.
Nightwing.
Spider-Man.
I'd have to.
Nightwing back in the 90s.
Fantastic Four was mine.
It's either a Spider-Man comic or a Wolverine comic. But I've always grown up because I grew up watching the animated series, which got me into comic books. So honestly, Superman and the X-Men were my top two people of all time. And I'm like, oh my God, Superman's amazing. I want to be like him. I can't. I'm a human being. Fuck. No,
Darn that non-alien blood going through you.
To go on to what Maya was saying, I truly feel like the reason why the animated movies on DC's side are doing so well is because they're almost quite literally plucked out of the comic books. There are certain scenes and moments that they may not have, but it's almost page for page. And that's why I love them so much.
Well, that and the difference between the who they're actually written for.
Yeah.
The Marvel animated movies are definitely more geared towards children versus the DC ones.
Yeah, if you go on Netflix or one of the other streaming sites, Hulu, and you're watching DC movies, I can't just sit there and be like, yeah, boys, you can watch it. It's a cartoon movie. No, like some of them are
let's not show them killing jokes.
Like that. Yeah, like even if you were to take out that weird scene between Barbara and Bruce that wasn't even in the comic books, take that, pluck it out of the Killing Joke. That whole part where Gordon is going down the stupid thing, you see weird images that are suggestive that Joker not only shot her in the spine, but then did some other suggestive stuff to her that she couldn't fight back with.
Oh,
and to make a compliment to Mr. Alan Moore, who probably would never listen to this, but to you, good sir, the fact that you will never comment about your writing, I commend you, because it keeps the readers guessing and questioning things. Even when he did the Killing Joke, the only comment he explicitly stated was, "This is a what if." This is not canon. This is just my story.
Yeah.
The reason why Joker is such a fantastic character is because you don't know what made him go fucking insane. But,
or who he is and all that
or
stuff.
who
I
he
love
is.
that.
The only thing you can enjoy is knowing all it takes is one bad day. So yeah. To you, Mr. Alan Moore, I love you, and all of your good stuff. But yeah. So, shifting back gears, I've already stated who I want. To fit the cowl, I think that Scott Adkins would do a fantastic job. He's got the build, he's got the look. All it takes is acting coaching, honestly, to get that other part of the role done. And he can do his own stunts because he's technically a martial arts actor. So I would love to see him perform as Batman. That's my 2 cents. Jake, since you're the other big Batman enthusiast, why don't you give us some actor names that you would love to see?
Just throwing this out there. I happen to be in my 30s, 6'2", 220 pounds.
Okay, so if that
and if I remember correctly, you do have the jawline to fit the mask.
He literally does.
I do have a decent jawline. The only drawbacks is I'm blonde and my hairline's kind of actually receding now that I'm in my 30s. But hey,
it's okay. There's always a wig. There's always a wig.
Yeah, I was like, I am not above wearing a wig. I would, if they want to pay for my gym membership, yeah, I could totally get in better shape, all that stuff. I'll do fucking yoga, get the flexibility down, all that stuff. I would humbly accept that offer.
Let me just be the first one to say that if that ever happened and we were around a group of people, I would then respond by saying, I'm not saying Jake's Batman, but have you ever seen Batman and Jake in the same room? And then walk away.
Just saying.
Yeah, say that at a convention. Watch all the Batman show up.
Right? No. The real Batman.
But for realties, I don't have a pick. I'm in the, I would just want to see what they do, and whatever they go with, I'm just gonna try to enjoy. Trust me, I was literally on IMDb on the list of like top 300 male actors and just scrolling and going, meh.
And that's the thing is, it's just like I'm in the same boat, and I'm looking at things and I'm like, yeah, you'd make a great Batman, but your Bruce Wayne would suck. Or
yeah.
Bruce Wayne, but no, you're not Batman. And one of the top names that comes to mind from Mad Men, John Hamm.
He would make a great Bruce Wayne.
He would make a phenomenal Bruce Wayne. Don't know how he'd do as Batman though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen.
And like,
actually, have you guys seen Bad Times at the El Royale yet?
No.
I need to see that.
Give it a watch because John Hamm's in it, and he actually is capable. Now, not on a Batman level, but he showed the capability of going from kind of, haha, I would never believe this guy to be anything else, to all of a sudden switching the gears, turning on serious detective mode, and I'm just sitting here going, you know what? John Hamm has a lot more range than just being a dumbass. I support him.
And like a lot of people keep bringing up Armie Hammer, which, yeah, sure, fine, he looks like he would fit the part based on pictures, but I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever seen a movie with him in it, so I have no idea what his acting like how he acts or anything. I don't even know what his voice sounds like.
But I don't think anybody saw that one either.
Wait, what?
He's a pretty good actor. Like, I could see that. And what was the other movie that he was in with Superman? What was that?
Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah, he had some good fight scenes in that too.
I'm gonna have to check that flick out.
Mm-hmm.
What about Well, you know what, Maya? Keep it going. Who else do you think would fit the cowl?
I kind of said the two. One was Scott Adkins. The other one that I very much appreciated is Louis Tan. He's a phenomenal martial arts actor, and so that would be nice. But if I'm honestly keeping my eyes open, I just hope that whoever they do pick does do their own stunts and does have some martial arts training in there, because that would be nice to see some really great action scenes coming from him in the next few movies.
Yeah.
Be like the actor Tom Cruise, where he's so adamant about making sure that it's him doing his own stunts, so that when you're watching the movie, it's him doing that, not some stunt actor. So yeah,
And he
I
breaks his leg.
Yeah, he broke his leg doing the stupidest thing too. Like, out of all the things that he has done in his movies, that's the thing he breaks his ankle on. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Well,
It's okay.
I mean,
Jeremy
if you want
Renner
to go
broke
with
his arm playing tag.
What the fuck?
That's funny. Yeah, I was about to say no one can top Jackie Chan on injuries.
Seriously.
No one can top him.
Seriously. The man jumped off of a bridge onto a hovercraft, broke his leg, then spray painted his cast to make it look like the pant leg and the shoe, and then proceeded to do the stunt all over again. What the shit?
Yeah.
What about you, Jenemy?
I don't know, because I get, not all actors, even though they kind of show this one side in one movie, but then they can turn, they can flip a switch and then they're these complete different person. And I mean, which makes them a good actor and all, but so it's really hard to like look at an actor and be like, oh, I can see him in that. Because I remember all the hate that, Ben Affleck got when he was casted. I mean, he got so much hate for it, and then he turned around and like nailed it.
Yeah, well,
And
that's.
so
I mean,
I feel like no matter who they cast, 90% of the people are gonna hate it, and then they're either gonna do amazing, and it's gonna be great, or it's not.
Yeah.
I don't get somebody who's gonna be mediocre, and people will be like, I guess that was fine, but I think you either need to have somebody great or. It's just not gonna work.
I mean, look at the OG Batman and Batman Returns. Up until those movies, Michael Keaton was a comedy actor or rom-com guy.
Yeah.
And then he goes into that and just freaking kills it.
Right?
It's the Doctor Who cycle.
Exactly.
You see that anytime you get a new Doctor Who actor, or no matter what happens, everyone hates it because they love the old guy. And then it comes in, everybody starts warming up to that person, and then they fall in love with that person, and then they have to get replaced, and the cycle starts all over again. So yeah.
Nobody's ever happy right away.
I say we just hire Kevin Conroy, beef him up, put him in the cowl, we'll be good to go. And then what makes this even better is then Mark Hamill will be like, you know what, if he can do it, I can play live action Joker.
Did you see him reprise
He's
his
already
role as
been
the
a
trickster?
DC villain.
Yes, when he reprised his role as the trickster, holy shit biscuits.
That was.
I was like, when I first saw
it.
that, I was like, wait, is he doing a live action Joker? What's this colorful outfit? What's going on? They're like, no, it's an episode of The Flash. I'm like, fuck. But then I watched him like, oh, that's really good actually. But yeah.
I think Kevin Conroy would make a great Alfred, but the whole time I would be hearing Batman in my head.
Or at the very least, can we just pull a Darth Vader and have an actor be in the suit, but then have Kevin Conroy come in and voice all of the cowl scenes?
Wait a second. Hold on. I need to look something up.
If you don't know who Kevin Conroy is, I quit.
No, that's not it. That's not it.
Are you Googling?
I just remembered something because you guys were talking about Kevin Conroy. What year was Batman Beyond set in? Was it 2019? Was it 2019?
No, actually, it's never, according to Bruce Timm, it never actually has a date. It's just always 50 or so years into the future.
That way it can continue to run.
Okay, because I was going to say, if you wanted to do the Kevin Conroy route, you could go Batman Beyond.
Well, see, the funny thing
that would be dope.
That would be dope, but the other thing about that is I actually fully support the fan idea right now where they want Michael Keaton to play Bruce Wayne in the live-action Batman Beyond series.
That
Yes.
would also
Yeah.
be dope.
That's
Because
so cool.
I don't mean to like insult Michael Keaton, but he's very old now. He's already got white hair. He looks the part. Why not? And
We already know he's still got the action chops because
Oh, dude, the Vulture, he
Vulture.
freaking killed it.
yeah.
Yay.
The intense, like, my favorite scene was when they roll up to the freaking prom
Yes.
and Homecoming, and he just turns around and he just gives them that speech, and like, I'm sitting nice and comfortable on my couch with my wife and kid, or my kids are asleep, watching this movie for the first time, and I was fucking terrified that this guy was going to come eat me.
Yeah.
Yes.
This
agreed.
guy that literally comes up to my chest, and he's like in his 60s. I thought I was going to get killed.
Like, and he's the only actor, even more than Kevin Conroy, but granted, we love it when Kevin Conroy does this, that doesn't change his voice when he goes, "I'm Batman." And
Kevin
still
Conroy
fucking
changes
kills
his
it.
voice.
Kevin Conroy does change his voice. Whenever he does the voice acting, he changes it a little bit. And when he talks normal, it's kind of like Jensen Ackles playing Dean Winchester. Jensen Ackles
Just because
has
he
his,
doesn't sound like he's trying to gargle gravel doesn't mean he doesn't slightly change his voice.
you don't know how hard gargling gravel is, okay?
Everyone's tried it once.
Yeah. Gargling.
No.
Anyway, at the end of the day, I also think Arnold Schwarzenegger would be a good Batman. Get to the bat chopper.
I'm fine.
Sorry, the puns. I just got flashbacks.
If he look, okay. If every
I just
actor,
died a little on the inside.
if every actor has gone through it where they had a terrible role to start with in a comic book universe and then got a chance to redeem themselves, Ben Affleck with Daredevil. Not a lot of people enjoyed him as Daredevil for some odd reason, and then he plays Batman and everybody loves him. Chris Evans, even though I think he did a great job as Johnny Storm, he comes in as Captain America and reprises
Oh, he
himself.
was a great Johnny Storm. The problem with that movie was
Him as
terrible.
Johnny Storm.
Mhm.
Ryan freaking Reynolds got the most hate for Green Lantern, shows up as Deadpool, and blows every other comic book movie out of the water. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but that is a movie that has been waiting for 11 years, and when it finally happens, in my opinion, in terms of a movie sticking very close to the source material, that origin story, the only thing I saw that they changed was where the Deadpool was from. The Deadpool was originally from the lab that was experimenting on him, not the mercenary creed where he works. Everything else, I was just blown the fuck away. I was like, whoa, holy shit.
So here's my problem with that. Like, I love that movie. It's a great movie. It's hilarious, all that stuff. It's not gonna hold up. It's so
I could see
deep
that.
in pop culture references. Like 90% of the movie is just jokes about pop culture references. It's not gonna hold up 5-10 years.
I would
Well,
agree with
that's
that.
for you, considering I watch it almost on a weekly basis.
Well, you're setting your character.
Nothing
I
wrong
can
with
see-
that. I
I
mean, if
can
you
see
love
that
a
as
flick,
well.
you love
Well,
a
it does
flick.
set it up for reboots and keeping it always,
Fresh.
yeah.
Well, okay, so Ryan Reynolds said during Comic-Con in San Diego, he says, when they asked him how long he wants to play the role, he goes, dude, I will fucking let them wheel me out in a wheelchair and just fucking feed me sandwiches dressed as Deadpool as an old man if I can and if they'll let me. And I'm just like, yeah, I would watch that. An hour and a half of just Ryan Reynolds in a wheelchair with a fucking like IV through his arm, just super old as shit. And they're just trying to feed him sandwiches and soup, and he's just like trying to make puns throughout the entire time. I'd watch that. Fuck yeah.
I mean, he'd probably still find a way to make it hilarious.
Oh yeah, fucking let's do it. Like seriously. All right. Now let's shift gears into the second portion of this podcast. Let us start with Single Dad and Mayan. You guys went to Long Beach Comic Con. How was that?
That was a roller coaster. It was so much fun. There were a lot of really great cosplayers there, which is really nice. It was kind of interesting though, because that particular event, there were like 3 other events going on in the same convention center, weren't there?
Yes.
There was
On the same
Go
floor
ahead.
as the convention, basically just separated by a partition wall, there was a state gymnastics tournament going on.
Oh my god.
What an awkward combination.
What?
In the upstairs, directly upstairs, there was a bridal show going on. And in the hall next door, like basically around the side, you had to go in through a different entrance. There was a 4-wheel drive and 4x4 truck rally going on.
Yep.
So what you're
Across-
saying is there was a diverse cast of characters in this film.
Yeah. Oh, and across the street there was a Scottish festival.
Yes,
Yes.
I feel like if
which explains why I was wearing a kilt all day Saturday.
I feel like if I was to do this as an AAR, it would be both pro and con. Con. There was a whole bunch of stuff happening. Pro. There was a whole bunch of stuff happening.
It was. So, I can speak from a perspective because I stayed as a photographer for the entire con. I did not cosplay at this one, and I am a major proponent of the cosplay is not consent rule. There were no signs, no placards at Long Beach. I've actually brought it to their attention that there was nothing about cosplay is not consent. As a photographer, I had to stop multiple people, whether they were just con attendees with wristbands or they were guys with professional badges, pro badges, or press badges, taking inappropriate photos, not asking you to take pictures, anything like that. So Saturday was kind of conflictual for me.
You're basically playing more of a
Like a
bouncer
cosplay under.
and security or whatever you want to call it, as opposed to actually really enjoying yourself,
Not
right?
even that. I will flat out say Saturday I did not enjoy the day. Sunday I did. But there were some personal things going on for me in that regard, and I'm not even going to go on to those. But overall, I mean, I love Long Beach. I love the con. It's not a large con. It is a small to medium sized con. It's gotten smaller each year, but there's still plenty to see there. It is definitely a cosplayer con. That's the main thing to go and see there is the cosplay and all the wonderful work that people put into their cosplays.
I think to touch base on that, I think you're right, because I think Jake and I can tell you from our experiences, Renton City Comic Con is more of a cosplayer's con than anything else.
Mhm.
So I think like the smaller the con is, sometimes, the more of a cosplay con it is.
Because
Yeah,
cosplayers will go to
definitely.
anything.
Yeah, I know. I want to go to the adult expo.
What?
That's
Street
Deadpool,
Fairs allows people to dress up? I'm there.
Yes.
right? What about you,
Yeah,
Genevieve?
yeah.
You were paid to go to your con, yes?
Yes, I went to Anime Milwaukee. It was like my training for my new job.
Cool.
It was a small to medium con, and I had never been to an anime con.
Those are interesting.
It's a little different.
Very interesting.
It's a little different.
How many body
definitely,
pillows did you see?
What?
How many body pillows did you see?
a ton. The booth behind us was actually selling them, so I got to see all kinds of them.
Oh God.
I end up with a lovely Harry Potter meme at the end of that because of that whole interesting experience. And then the clothes that people wear, I'll have to shed that to you guys later. It's not really
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to explain body pillows to a lovely elderly couple who are, well, not elderly, but they're substantially older, and they cosplay as well.
I think
and I'm going,
I think the worst thing I saw was this girl. She was probably about 13, and she was there with her dad, and she had on one of the little masks, and it said hentai on it.
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh no.
And I was like, this dad has no idea what he is at.
That's a great, like, jump start into puberty.
And I was just like,
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Why are all these guys dressed as tentacle monsters following me?
yeah. There wasn't as much like cosplay as I'm used to.
Oh, that was perfect.
Well, that's the title of this week's episode.
Oh God. Oh my Lord, baby Jesus. God
So,
bless.
oh man, last year my wife and I went with a group of friends, some mutual friends of Tom Cruise and I, and to SakuraCon. That was my first anime con, and
Yeah. That.
How much therapy?
I've seen definitely more fucked up shit, but it was just a different kind of fucked up shit. I was not prepared.
Speaking of that exact con, actually, I'm not sure if this is what inspired this person, who will remain anonymous, to ask me this. For the listeners, if you are military and you like to get into the nerdy culture, military nerdy culture, we have a Facebook page for, networking, getting to know other people. I got asked, how do you feel about somebody using cosplay as an excuse to wear the military uniform? And I had to sit there and I had to think about this because at SakuraCon, there were in PAX, there were quite a number of people wearing military uniform and trying to claim it's part of some anime. But the problem was they were using the real shit. And I had to take a second and just stare at them for a minute, and then I finally answered this person. I told them, honestly, stolen valor is stolen valor. That's why when someone wears a cop uniform, firefighter, what have you, they use the most Halloween shit ever because it's illegal. And touching base on this, that's what it reminded me of, because he brought up SakuraCon. I just want to make this comment to our listeners that if you're a civilian and you planning on wearing the uniform, I don't know if I have the fortitude like many of the infantry that are out there you see in the Stolen Valor videos on YouTube where they go out of their way to confront you, because I don't know how to go about conducting myself in this manner. I would just like to personally request that you not do that, because I have had so many battle buddies either commit suicide or have died in combat, and when you wear that uniform, you're wearing the uniform of someone whose life is gone in service to their country. Not to take this on a super serious tone, obviously, and I apologize for that. It's just, that's what that made me think of. SakuraCon and PAX here in Seattle, I don't know why, but there's a whole massive amount of them, and I don't know how to respond to this. I'm just looking at them like, I'm gonna have an aneurysm trying to conduct myself in a professional manner. I just thought I'd share.
I've had something similar happen with a photographer where they wanted to do Wonder Woman and Diane, and they were like, "Oh, well, you were in the military. Could you do like your uniform plus all of your accessories and your boots and stuff?" And I'm going, "No,
No.
like no." And he goes, "Oh, why not?" And I'm going, "Well, like just to be honest, like if that uniform is sacred to me." Like that's a special place for me, and so if I'm gonna wear the uniform, it's the uniform as itself. I'm not gonna mix that plus my cosplay, and that's even with me serving. So just for someone who either was also serving should know better, and someone who didn't serve should learn.
Yes.
And there are polite ways to go about it. I don't know them yet, but
I know, right? Every time I see someone like this, I want to be like that one infantry guy just outside of, I believe it was Fort Bragg, where this guy was in uniform trying to peddle money beg for money out on the street. And he started chasing him in the middle of the street, walking in a speed walk around him, and told him to take it off. And finally, the guy takes it all off, standing there in a shirt and like boxers or some shit. And he goes, "Don't ever fucking wear this uniform again, or I'll find you." They're just like, see, I would like to respond like this gentleman, but I don't think I will.
See, usually I just insult people's manhood, but it's easy for me as like this dainty little girl to be like, "You're a fucking idiot."
Yeah, who deep down inside is a devil dog. It's fine.
Bye.
Oh man. So switch back into a happier gear. If you're still with us and listening, thank you for joining in our podcast. For the first episode, I would like to say, please let us know what you think about our podcast, how we're doing, comments, questions, concerns. Also, who you think would be a good Batman, and what you think would happen to the DCEU and how you think the future of its universe is going. Next week, we are going to do a battle of the characters, battle of the sexes, whatever the hell you want to call it, where Captain Marvel versus Captain Marvel. And by that, I mean Captain Marvel versus Shazam. And it's going to be a fun fucking topic. We're going to talk about the history of each character. We're going to weigh in on their powers and abilities. And then we're going to hash out the debate and find out who would win in a fight. So that's going to be a fun episode. I'm glad everyone could join in and listen in on our episode too. It's always fun and exciting talking to these group of amazing human beings. So, bye!
See you next week!
Yeah!
Toodles.
Toodles. I think that's Jake's. That's the way Jake is going to say it every fucking episode too. Toodles!
Oh, you ain't wrong.
I'm surprised you
I know
didn't
what
go
I'm about.
tentacles.
Oh, tonight's episode's going to be labeled Tentacles. Find out why. No, I'm just kidding. Batman Tentacles? Let's do it. All right.